clear of this understanding. Once again, what love bombing is, it's a tactic. It is a tactic to overwhelm the target and make the person being bombed feel loved as if they found a true connection. Love bombers intend for their targets to spend increasingly less time with families, with friends, in favor of spending time with them. Hello, beautiful souls. This is Natalie, trauma mindset coach and the CEO and founder of She's Taking Her Life Back. Today, we're going to talk about part 2 of this awesome 4-part series of talking about love bombing and how all that works. We believe that's an important topic to talk about because many women, particularly women who experience trauma, sometimes fall victim to that. And I want to make sure that I prepare the women to actually identifying who those targets are, and you know what? A lot of times it's us. And then I want to be able to target the perpetrators of love bombing. It's important to understand how it works. Understand that this is one manipulative tactic. Tonight, we're going to talk about not just only romantic partners, we're going to talk about how family members and how friends will love bomb you. I know that may be new for some of you because I know when I first started talking about love bombing or even researching love bombing, all I was thinking about is a romantic partner doing the love bombing. But no, it happens in those areas today. And I'm going to talk about them. So let's start by welcoming you to She's Taking Her Life Back on our YouTube channel and our Women's Worth Talk Show. And we're here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tonight we're going to be delving into a fascinating topic, like I said, about love bombing and how it manifests in various relationships. So I want you to buckle up and get ready to take notes as we explore the intricacies of love bombing in romantic relationships, again, friendships, and you'd be surprised at how it works. So I want you to pay close attention. I want you to be able to take some notes because this is an awesome live when we talk about those different 3 areas. But first, I want to introduce myself. My name is Natalie, and I am a certified trauma mindset coach. And what I do is I help women who experience past trauma break through their trauma mindset that leaves them self-sabotaging, leaves them procrastinating, and leave them being stuck in the same kind of environment they just left. So when I talk about just left, I'm not talking about leaving them in a domestic violent relationship. I'm not talking about leaving them in those situations. What I'm talking about is leaving them with the mindset that keeps them living on a level way beneath the level they want to live. So if you're a woman and you're someone that wants to break free from the cycle of unhealthy relationships and you want to look for healthy relationships and you've been struggling with that, this is what we help you out when she's taking a life back. Excuse me. My mouth is dry. Let me take a little bit of water. So yes, if you're somebody who also, you have this purpose deep inside of you, but you've been procrastinating, you've been sabotaging, there's a high chance if you experience past trauma, it has a lot to do with still having a trauma mindset. So we're going to help you break free from that. But I want to start with the definition of trauma bonding. Let's start with that. So I'm going to bring the label on the screen because I want to make sure, ladies, that you, again, completely understand what these are. All right, let's start with the first one. Hold on one second. I want to make sure that I have my notes ready to give you the accurate information, right? Starting with today's title, which is part 2 of 4, Decoding Love Bombing. So what does that mean? What is love bombing mean, ladies? Love bombing is an abusive tactic used to manipulate individuals by showering them with excessive affection and attention. Let's start with understanding what signs and of the red flags are, because there are signs, ladies. I want to start by sharing this before I discuss the signs. This reminds me of a relationship I had in the past. And I remember like he was very new in my life, right? And I had just got broken up probably a couple of months before there with my daughter's father, which was very devastating. So this was a low point in my life. And even at this point in my life, there was still more healing that I needed to do. So he actually I invited him to my house. This was a brand new apartment I had just gotten, and I invited him to my house. Now, I don't know about you ladies. I'm very territorial. So if you come into my home, like I want to escort you to the places I want to escort you in. However, as I invited him in my house, all of a sudden he started taking himself on a self tour, like walking into my kitchen, walking into the living room, walking into, all the rest of the rooms of the house. And I'm looking at him like, where are you going? So at that point, like I really didn't say anything. I just kind of had a question in my head. But before he left that night, I was like, why are you like, why are you like taking yourself on a self tour of my apartment unescorted? So him and his justifying saying that, you have a new apartment. I just wanted to take a look. I said, okay, but in the future, allow me to escort you, right? Long story short, the next day he shows up at my house with the television set, with money. I'm talking about several $100s worth of money. And at that time, like cell phones were, they weren't unlimited. So he showed up with a brand new cell phone and a whole lot of minutes to put on the phone. And I wish I could say that I didn't take it, but I did. At that time, I was so caught up in the affection, the over excessive affection, and what he was showering with me with, excuse me. Because remember at that time I was really broken. I had just broken up a relationship. I had not done the healing that I've done so far now, and I accepted it. Big mistake. But this was the beginning of him just showering me with things. I mean, and I knew that it was excessive. I knew that this was like out of the ordinary. But I got to be honest, at that time, I was enjoying all the attention. I was enjoying all the gifts because he kept bringing it. He kept bringing it. He was pouring it on. Long story short, at the end of this, there was a price to pay for that. There was a price to pay because he was setting me up. He was setting me up to manipulate my life. And it got to a point that I became a little bit dependent on the level of life that he was showering me with. And that's an example of love bombing. I know I said, if anybody come in my life now, and if you come with, you're giving me stuff too early on, red flag. That is a red flag. That's a sign that, okay, in my mind, that this is not healthy. This is not healthy for someone to give you all of those things early on in a relationship. Fine that we go out for dinner. That's fine. Fine that you bring me some flowers. That's fine. Fine we go to the movie. Fine we go to a play. But when you start buying me things like TVs and giving me several $100s and buying these extravagant things and trying to take me out on trips, I'm talking about early on. When I say early on, I'm talking about less than 60 days. I think it was about less than 60 days. The TV and all that money started coming like a week later, because I didn't invite him to my home till a week later. And I just want to put this as a disclaimer. It wasn't like I didn't know him. It's not like I was bringing in a stranger in my house. I knew him for a while, but we had just began to develop a relationship more intimately, right? So it's not like he was a total stranger, right? So I just wanted to give you a personal story of my experience with love bombing. But later on, I'm also going to share another experience that I encountered with love bombing that I was able to cut it off early on. I was able to say, no. And I can tell you, he was fine. The brother was fine. He looked it good, very intelligent. But I'm going to share with you how this love bombing happened and how I was able to use some tools to cut it off right in the beginning. I'm like, no, ma'am, we're not going there. No, we've learned some stuff. We learned some coping skills. We understand from past relationships what this is all about. And I want to share that with you. So let's go back to sharing with you the signs of a red flag. Again, when you start seeing someone, like I mentioned, just moving way too quickly in a relationship, and they're giving you excessive flattery, and they're making you feel like, you were the only one for them, and they've been looking for you for years, and they calling you baby really early on, and they're just doing all those things, including trying to isolate you, with those kinds of behaviors, like always wanting to be around you, always calling you all the time. You know what? It just dawned on me, like, there was a second relationship that tried the love bombing that I was able to cut off. But stay with me as we go through this talk show. I'm going to share them both with you. And let me tell you, just hold on. I'm going to show you later. I'm going to tell you later about these two relationships. And hopefully, by me sharing these relationships with you, you can get a little bit of understanding of how this works and how is it so easily to slip into these relationships, particularly if you experience trauma and you grew up feeling like you weren't loved enough or you didn't matter. It's so easy to slip into this kind of relationship because they give you all of this attention in the beginning. So hold on. I want to now talk about the impact of the relationships. Remember, I said love bombing doesn't only affect intimate relationships, it in fact impacts your friends. That can happen. You can have friends that love bomb you, as well as family members that love bomb you. And how does that happen? How does that work? Come on, stay with me. We're going to talk about that. You know, I also want to share that when you experience love bombing, no matter where it comes from, what it also does, it causes you to lose yourself. You lose your individuality because his emotional or her emotional manipulation, it causes you to feel like it's difficult to set boundaries. It makes it real difficult. So in this relationship I was talking about that started buying me all these things, after a while, like I accepted him being in my life almost every single day. Like he would take me to work, he would pick me up. He was there on a regular basis, which really didn't leave me room to even spend time with anyone else. But honestly, because of my brokenness, I accepted this kind of behavior. I accepted it. It made me feel good temporarily. It made me feel good temporarily. It made me feel like I was on this whirlwind affair. That's what it felt like, right? So let me continue to talk about the different types of relationships. So again, the first one we're talking about is romantic relationship, love bombing in that context. Again, it's overwhelming. When I say a display of affection, I don't want you to get me wrong. There's nothing wrong like sharing with someone like how you feel, even early in a relationship. Saying things like, you may be someone that I'm maybe interested in seeing a little bit further just to see how this goes. It's all right to say, I'm just interested in dating right now. I'm not looking for a committed relationship. Right? These are things that's going to help you like set boundaries early in the beginning. But if we start again, like with all of this overwhelming signs of affection, always wants to hug on you. And, we're talking about maybe the first date, the second date, because that's usually when it happens in the beginning, because the goal is to keep you hooked into that relationship by making you feel so special. I can tell you this. I was listening to, what is his name? I think his name is MJ Harris. And what was it? I don't know if it was a TikTok. I don't know what it was, but what he would say was so meaningful. He was sharing information and wanted women to wake up. He wanted women to wake up with the tactics that love bombers use. And this is what he said. He said, when you first meet someone, and I'm guilty of this years ago, you sit down at a restaurant, you have conversations over the phone, and then you start asking each other questions, right? And you ask each other questions like, so what happened in your last relationship? Why did you break up? Sounds familiar? And then naturally we began to share, things like, really didn't work out. He wasn't a great communicator. He didn't have a work-life balance. He worked all the time. He never wanted to go out. He just wanted to be on the phone. There's more to that. But I want to stop here because what he was saying is when you do that, you're giving the love bomber all the information that they need so they can sit back and say, okay, this is what it didn't work out in the relationship in the past. So I know not to do that. So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to show her that I can communicate well. Excuse me, I'm up. I'm going to show her that I can communicate well. So you're going to see a lot of expression of feelings, a lot of sharing how they feel, asking you how you felt. These are the things that love bombers do. And then they may ask you at dinner, what are you looking for in a man? What are you looking for in a relationship? And then we start sharing, like, I'm looking for someone who has a purpose in his life. And mind you, these are all very these are very good things that we're sharing that we want in a relationship. There's nothing wrong with the things we're asking for. Like, we want a man that has his own purpose. We want a man that understands that there's a relationship that we have individually, and then there's a relationship that we have together. There's nothing wrong with saying that. We may share with our partner what we're looking for, a man who has a great sense of humor, a man who knows how to have fun, enjoy life, a man who knows. And what MJ was saying is that we are sitting back again, giving him all the information about what we like. And guess what he's doing? He's soaking it all in. Soaking it all in. So he's going to make sure all those things you said you want in a relationship that he does. And then he does it very early on. And so when he does that, you're going to sit back and you're going to say, this man may be the man of my dreams. He sounds like the man I've been looking for all along. He seems to hit all of those points on my list, right? And when I talk about list, ladies, this list of the things you are looking for in a relationship, the things you're willing to compromise, on the things you're willing to give in a relationship, that list, he seems to be hitting all these points. And he's showing you all these things, and you're in your mind thinking like, wow, this man is maybe it. It's not that he's it. That you just gave him all the information about who you're looking for in a man, and he's going to show that to you. He's going to show it to you, and it's going to keep coming, and it's going to keep coming, and it's going to keep coming till he realizes that he has you on the hook, that you are hooked emotionally to him. And guess what happens later? And then he's going to start pulling it all away. These are some of the things that I talked about on my last video. So if you haven't seen that, go to the last video when I talk about more about the romantic relationship and how the love bomber operates in that realm, right? So we're going to talk still more about romantic. We're going to add on those two there. But does this sound familiar? When you find yourself like, after he showers you or she showers you with all this love and then pulls it back, it leaves you confused, like, what in the world is going on? But one of the things I've learned about women who experience trauma and haven't healed a lot of their trauma, and it's still impacting their life, being in that situation, even if you feel confused, even if you say to yourself, what in the world is going on? 1 minute he's showering me with all this love, and the next minute he's emotionally unavailable. And in this confusion, you still remain in a relationship. You still remain because you know why? Because you keep thinking about all those times he was showering you with love, showering you with affection, showering you with flowers, showering you with gifts. So in those bad times, you're sitting there thinking, well, maybe he'll go back to who I met. Maybe he'll go back to the person that I sometimes fall in love with early on. Come on, there's ladies, some of us fall in love early on. Or some of us maybe not fall in love, but we get infatuated early on, and we sit there waiting for that other loving, affectionate person to show up again. But the thing again, what happens again with women who experience trauma, and men, but I'm here talking about women on this channel. But what happens is he begins to take it back. He worships you, then he takes it back. He floods you with attention, then he takes it back. And now you're on this cycle of going back and forth and back and forth. But here's the thing. what people don't understand that's not informed about trauma, and that's what I'm here on this channel to do: inform you about trauma and how it works in relationships, how it works in our lives, how it works in all areas of our lives, not just relationships. But this particular relationship, I want you to understand that what happens is, again, if you have unhealed trauma, you sit back and let me say this: you may not know this, but chances are it is a reminder of the childhood that you grew up in. A reminder of how those moments when he pulls it back, that it's a familiar feeling of not being loved, not being adored, not being feel made to be loved and that you matter. It's a reminder. And remember, this happens subconsciously. Subconsciously meaning that you are unaware. It just happens subtly. And it reminds you of your past. So in those bad times, when he pulls back his affection, it's familiar. So a lot of times we may not know to say we need to get out. We know there's something wrong, but as far as breaking up with the relationship, we may not know how to do. So if you're hearing this definition and this kind of sounds familiar, I want you not to be hard on yourself. I want you to have compassion, because there is a way out. And just know that you are not alone. I'm somebody that experienced that. I experienced that in my past because of my childhood and how I grew up feeling like I didn't matter. Right? So it was easy for me to slip into the hands of a love bomber because it was my familiar. It was easily for me to slip into these abusive relationships because there, some of it, not all of it, but some traits of it reminded me of my childhood. And it was my familiar. So in my mind, it wasn't like, okay, now it's time to leave. It was more like, if I sit around long enough, and if I do this, if I say this, if I behave this way, maybe he'll change. And then we're off onto the cycle of giving and taking back and giving and taking back, and us being confused, like what is going on? And we're just on this cycle. I want you to be aware of this behavior. It's not always as sweet as it seems in the beginning, even though you feel it causes you to feel a certain way. And I get it. It caused you to feel so loved, so adored in the beginning, so full of affection. You made to feel like you're special, like you are it. He's the one he's been looking for all your life. Again, he's hitting all those points on your list of what you're looking for, and you're Mr. Right. He's doing all of that. But beware. That is a sign. That is a sign. Because first of all, who can love you? Because love means, to me, means that you love not all of me, but you love me enough that even the parts of me that are flawed, because I'm not perfect and no one is, that you still willing to be there for me and love me. Like you wouldn't show any signs of, making me feel less than during those moments when I'm going through things. That you love me through all my difficulties. You understand that I experienced trauma, not that you're going to put up with those behaviors that are my trauma responses, but you're going to support me through them. That's a healthy relationship. But when you're with the love bomber and you go through those times and you're expecting this from him, oh, he's going to pull away. There is no someone there for you when it comes to him. So beware of that. Beware of these signs that I'm talking about when it's coming way too early. Like, who loves you like in week 2? Who says I love you and you only know them for 30 days? Like, you have not even been around me long enough to see my flaws for me to understand that you're going to be there throughout it all. Like, how do you love me? Based on what? Because honestly, all of us, when we meet people, honestly, what shows up is our representatives, right? We're putting our good foot forward. See, I need to be in a relationship long enough that I see some flaws there. I need to examine your flaws. I need to know that these flaws are like something I can I can deal with. Again, we all have flaws. There are no perfect people, but there's something I can deal with. Or when we go through difficulties, I need to know, not that you say that you could communicate well. I need to know when things happen and we need to communicate about it, that's actually doing it. And not only that you're doing it, because remember, love bombers know how to do it. They know how to talk the talk. They know how to walk that walk. But the thing is, they won't do it for long. That's why it's important to date. And I'm gonna do a video one show about dating after trauma. But for this show, like they're not gonna keep it up for long. So it's important not to jump into a committed relationship and stay in the dating process. So eventually you will see the red flags. They will show up. And by educating yourself, by continue to jump on our channel. Also by purchasing the workbook, because I have developed this wonderful workbook about love bombing. You know, gives you exercise on how to identify whether you be love bombed. It has a lot of exercise regarding that and how to select healthy relationships. So much is in this workbook. So if you're somebody who wants to go deeper in this, go into the just description, click the link, and purchase your copy of, and it's called the what I call the love. Oh God, I'm losing my train of thought. What is it called? It's called Decoding Love Bombing. That's what it's called, and it's a guide to how to learn about those things, how to do exercises so you can assess whether your past relationships and your current relationships are love bombing you. How to tell the signs. They are great exercises. So get yours. But I'm going to tell you, I went through the exercise myself just to make sure that this is really informative and it's going to help people that purchase it. So get it if you're interested in learning about love bombing and your own personal experience. All right. And if this sounds like information that you're interested in and things that we've been talking about on this channel, if you've been following us and you have not yet subscribed, what are you waiting for? It is time to subscribe. So go ahead, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to like. It's important not only to subscribe, but to like our channel, because what it does is pushes the algorithm out in the YouTube world, and it tells you too that people are interested in what we are talking about. And not only for you, because I believe in what I'm doing is not just for me, because this is a platform that heals me every time I share and talk about this. But I know that it also can heal other women. So if you're on board for that, by you liking and subscribing and YouTube pushing this out in YouTube land, it may hit that woman and it may show up in her feed. And this is something that, she may need to hear. So help support the channel by hitting subscribe, like. Don't forget to hit that notification bell, because it'll remind you of when we go live again. It'll remind you of the videos that we upload, that I will return to uploading once a week. All right. So thank you for that. So let's continue. Again, just know that one of the signs are that the love bomber are using these intense expressions to manipulate and control their partner. And the ways they do it is by overly generous gift giving. Just imagine your new romantic partner showering you with expensive gifts and lavish surprises in the initial stages of relationships, creating this illusion of his ongoing affection, just pouring it out, the gifts and affections and the words. However, that form of love bombing is concealed underlying manipulative intentions. It's concealing it. It is caused to blind you from his manipulative tactics, because you're so focused on the attention. You're so focused on the gifts. You're so focused on the flower that you're not focused on the fact that, this is a manipulative tactic. Because who does this early on in a relationship? Here's two common examples. Again, like I shared before, just continuous flattery and adoration in early days of your romance. Your partner just constantly praises you. He idolizes you, makes you feel like you're the most extraordinary person. While compliments are normal, but when it becomes excessive, it's probably a tactic to create emotional dependency and manipulate your feelings within a relationship. Ladies, I know, again, I know if you're someone who is, excuse me, if you're someone that experienced past trauma in your childhood and you haven't really done a lot of healing, you haven't learned how to cope with certain ways of operating in relationship, you're someone can easily slip into this pattern because it feels good. Who doesn't want to be admired? Doesn't want to be loved? It feels great. But know that it's a sign. Just picture your partner expressing deep, intense love, and it comes quickly. And he uses these grand gestures, to convey their emotions. They're calling you boo, like you just like started dating 2 weeks ago, and all of a sudden you're boo. You all of a sudden you're baby. All of a sudden you bae. We're talking about like 2 weeks into a relationship. This may sound like a fairy tale, so I'm gonna tell you, be cautious because this rapid escalation could be a sign of love bombing, aiming to exert control and influence over your emotions in a relationship. Ladies, are you hearing me? And even men, they may be watching this channel. I have a question for you, and I'm going to put it on the screen. Hold on 1 second. Have you been in a love bombing relationships? Let us know in the comments. Share it in the comments. You don't have to go into detail, but I would like to hear, like, have you experienced love bombing? Have you experienced this kind of thing and didn't understand it was love bombing? You can just, put in the comments, you know what? Yes, that was me. Don't have to go into details if you're not comfortable. But if you are comfortable, you want to share like a little bit more detail, feel free. One of the things I love about the comment section, if people utilize it, it has you feeling like you are not alone. You are not the only person. Because I remember early in my healing journey, when I began to really learn about different tactics of relationships, particularly with women that experience trauma like myself, I didn't know that. And when I began to realize that, wow, I fell for it. I felt shame. I felt embarrassed. I didn't want to tell anybody. So I understand. But just know that you are not alone. So, if you're able to, put it in the comment section. So let other women out here know that they are not alone. Me too. Me too. But I've learned a lot since then. And again, I want to continue to share with you so you understand how to see the signs, like what to do, when you see it coming. How do you break it off when it's challenging? Because sometimes there's a struggle where you even like, okay, I know this is love bombing, right? And then it begins to feel so good. You start questioning, like, should I leave? Let me enjoy the ride. Let me tell you, there's a price to pay at the end. What happens at the end of this, not even at the end, as you're moving throughout this relationship, then comes the control. Then becomes the dependency that we so easily sucked into, and it causes again to feel confused. It causes to feel like we're on this roller coaster, and we get stuck because we don't know how to break free from that. Because again, it's our familiar. So put it in the comments section if you identify with this. Now, I want to talk about another area of love bombing, and it's not talked about a lot. It's not. Um, it's about family members who love bomb. Have you ever heard of that? Like when I began to research that a short time ago, I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know family does that. What is the purpose of a family member love bombing you? One of the things about love bombing is that you may get obsessive affection and gifts and attention from family members too, right? So why do family members love bomb? Well, let me tell you, it's because they too are trying to gain control and manipulate your emotions and divert attention from the dysfunctional aspects of the family dynamic. Now that's a mouthful. I want to like give you an example so you understand how that works. You know, if you're in a family that's dysfunctional, and please, I always want to make sure that when I say words, introduce language like dysfunction, I want people to be very clear on what dysfunction means. There are different levels of dysfunction. A lot of times that we get caught up in socioeconomic things to say our family is functional. And what I mean by socioeconomics, that, if you look at where our family lies, like, we're in the middle upper class of the neighborhood. We have a wonderful house. Our parents are, superintendent of the school district. Our family member is a politician, family member is a lawyer. These are people that raised us, and these are the kinds of neighborhoods we live in. That's socioeconomics. And I'm sharing that because over my years of counseling people, they are missing the step of what a functional family is. When you're in a functional family, that means that there are different areas of your lives that they're hitting on. Not all of them. No family's perfect. So, for example, like, we're born into this world. Right? We're born into this world by two parents, mom and dad. But even if our mom and dad are both lawyers and they own a law firm, for example, and they work so hard because they want to be able to continue paying that mortgage in that wonderful neighborhood, they want to be able to give you things. Uh, who's spending time with the children as they're working all the time? Who's spending time? So if you are in that kind of situation, that's just one example. If you're in that situation, I'm wondering, like, are your emotional needs being met? Yeah, your dad may have money, and when you get to high school, they're buying you a brand new car, and you have all the latest clothes, and you're able to go on the trips. But emotionally, who is pouring into you when they're gone? Who's pouring into you? So high chance there's a void there. There's a missing piece. We're also born in this world to aspire. We're here to aspire to different levels, to go higher and higher. At least that's my belief on spirituality. And these are the things that I want to help people with. We're here not to live in mediocrity. Like, I truly believe that we were put on this earth to serve a purpose. And if you're someone who feels like you're not living in your purpose, because a couple of reasons. One, you don't think you're good enough. Like, you have this dream inside of you that you've been carrying for years, and you know that this is what you really want to do, but you're too afraid to go after it because, one, you think you're not intelligent enough. You don't have anybody support you. You're around people who says, that's not possible. That's ridiculous. You grew up with parents that said, stop dreaming. Go ahead, get that education, go get that job. Follow the family business. Become a lawyer, doctor, Indian chief, for example. You know what I mean? Is that what your passion is? Or that's what your parents wanted you to do? Is that your passion, or that's what society says is success? What is your passion? What is that thing you've been carrying around in your heart? Have you been able to live in that place? If not, you're probably not really feeling fulfilled. And I've talked to a lot of people, and they say, well, I got to get this job because I got to pay the rent. I got to pay the mortgage, and I got to put the food on the table. Like, I get that. But what about, now starting this journey of, let me do something different with my life. Let me pay the mortgage, pay the rent, put the food on the table, travel around the world, but doing it from the place of living in my purpose and living in my passionate place. It's possible. No matter what your age, it is possible. So again, if you have lived in that place of purpose and you're feeling like you just got that job just to make it happen, and you're miserable, and every time Monday morning comes, you're like, oh man, I gotta go to work. You're not living in that passionate place. You're not living in that place of what the reason why you created. You're not living there. So again, if that part of you has not been able to aspire, has not been able to manifest, there's a void there in your life. There's a void. And honey, I'm telling you, on Monday mornings, that's probably when you feel it. On Fridays, when you're like, "Hooch, the week is over. Thank God, I don't have to go back to work until Monday." That doesn't sound like someone's living from a place of purpose. So again, there's a void there. If this sounds like you, that's a void. So there's other areas of our lives, that we our parents are supposed to meet: the nurturing, the hugging, the kissing, to tell us that we're loved, to tell us that we matter, to tell us all those things. So even when the world comes against us, even when the world tries to tell us we are not who we're supposed to be, we're not who God created us to be, we can rely on our parents and their love. And we can simply say, it doesn't matter what you say, world, because my parents made me feel loved. My parents told me that I was important. But if you didn't get that, void, a void. So you're beginning to understand all of those voids creates dysfunction in the family. I don't care what your social economic background is. If those places aren't met, that's a dysfunctional family. And it's being covered up by finances. It's being covered up by education. It's being covered up by how many degrees you have. They do not take care of the emotions, does not take care of the spirituality. It doesn't do that. All it does is meet the financial goals and it hits the aspiration goals, but not the aspiration of living in your purpose. Make sense? Make sense? So when you have those distractions in your life, and you have this dysfunctional family, you know, sometimes you have that person in your life that wants to like take the focus off the dysfunction. I can remember in my own family, like I was the one that rang the bell. Like, why do I have to follow the family? Like, why can't I be me? Why can't I do this? And I was the rebellious one, I can tell you now. And I always questioned. I always question, like, why can't I be me? Why do I have to worry about what society thinks, right? Because I come from a family who always worried about how they present to the world. And I get part of it, but I always thought like being me and embracing my passion, embracing my purpose and loving me and being authentic me was important. I thought it was important. So if you're someone like that is in your family, you're the one that rang the bell, like, you know what I mean? There's something wrong with this. There's something wrong going here and on in this family. But then you get that other person in your family that begins to love bomb you. Like they want you to keep the focus off the dysfunction in your family. They're trying to distract you from what's going on. They're trying to hush you up. They're giving you all these compliments. They want to divert, again, your attention away from the dysfunction of the family. Does anybody can identify with that? They're the ones like, oh, don't worry about what's going on. Don't worry about what's going on in the family. Come over here, let's hang out over here. They're the ones that want to sweep everything under the rug with their affection and their love and their love bombing and their attention. Again, the purpose is to manipulate. Even if they think they're doing it from a good place, it's a manipulative tactic. That's an example of an attempt to mask the issues and portray a false sense of function in the family. It's a mask. It's a cover up. The next area is control and influence. Love bombing creates a sense of dependency and admiration. That's one of the difficulties of pulling away from love bombing. It creates and strategically creates a dependency on it. You get used to it. You get sucked in. My God, it's like, how do you turn down all the gifts? Like, how do you turn down and tell someone, stop telling me you love me? How do you turn that away? Even in the times that when they're pulling the emotions away, like I said earlier, you still remain because like all you can thinking about is they'll get back to that place where they're worshiping me again. They'll bring the flowers again. They'll bring the gifts again. They'll bring all of that attention again. And because you have these voids in your life, you suck that in and you stay. These taxes with family members, they're also used to influence decisions of family members. They influence, like, for example, if there's a decision like your family needs to make, and let me come up with an example. Uh, what's a good one? What's a good one? Let me just throw this one out there. Like, let's say, let me use this one. Let's say like you grew up in a single parent household, right? And then you grow up, become a teenager, and your mom starts dating And you really don't like this guy. You don't like this guy. This guy knows you don't like him. That reminds me of my brother and my mother. He actually, my mother started dating, and this guy came over to take my mother on a date, and my brother would would not let him in. This is so funny. Hold on. And you have those situations. So what happens a lot of times is that, you get the other family members like, leave mom alone. She hasn't dated in a while. Leave her alone. You'll be all right. You could be the one that's gonna um be there for him. You're supportive. If anything happens with mom and is dating, you're good. You're very supportive. Just don't worry about it. Let mom have a date. She hasn't dated in a while. And they're making you feel like, what, if mom thinks is wrong guy, you have all of these qualities to make sure that mom doesn't get sucked into a bad relationship. Because they're trying to divert you and what you see in this man, and the thing that you see in this man is not good for your mom, but they're so focused on like telling you to stop doing that behavior. We know what you see, but stop it. Let mom have her time. Mom has her time. Me and you can go and do this together. We can do this together. They're doing all these manipulative tactics to take you away from what's going on in the family, taking you away from what's going on with your mom. That's just one example. The tactic is to move you away, to shower you with all this love and attention to keep you away from speaking about what's wrong with the family. Does that kind of sound familiar? I hope so. Um, Again, masking dysfunction. Again, that's part of it. The love bombing serves as a distraction, diverting attention from what's really going on. And it's done again by showering excessive affection, attention. It's that person that just wants everything to be okay in a family. They don't want to ripple the waves of the family. They don't want any problems to be addressed. They just want to be the peacemaker, and they do it with excessive affection and love intention to get your mind over what you see is wrong in the family. If you need more clarification for how family members love bomb, put it in the chat. Put it in the comment section. Let me know that you need more clarification, so I can help you with that. Or again, grab the workbook. The workbook is only at $9.99 and it's filled with so much information. I think it's about 14, 15 pages in that workbook. It's going to help you give more detailed explanation of these. It's going to give you examples as well, on top of what I've already given you. Right? So again, that emotional manipulation. Love bombing can manipulate emotion of a targeted family member. Again, the whole tactic, the manipulation of this kind of love bombing is for that person to make sure that an individual is compliant, that they serve the love bomber's agenda. The bomber's agenda also for family members who want to have control of the family, want to have control of the money, want to have control of all the decision making. They are love bombing you, giving you all this attention, because when it's time to make decisions in your family members, they hope that they can manipulate you to sway their way. To sway their way. Do you know anybody like that in your family? Like when it's kind of time to make decisions, like it's hard for you to like be against that family member because they've been so good to you. They give you their attention. Does that sound familiar? Let's talk about the next one. Friendships. Love bombing is even in friendships. Love bombing manifests through a sudden, intensive display of loyalty, admiration, and support. The friend who's doing the love bombing gives you excessive praises, idolizes you, aiming to gain influence or create a sense of dependency within the friendship. You ever seen anybody like that? Like, they're supposedly your friend. They want you to remain their friend. So they manipulate you by telling you like you're the best friend ever. They buy you things. They do all these things that make you feel special. The thing about that's manipulation. It's manipulation to get you to remain friends with them. I mean, that the praise and just constant. Just imagine a friend who's consistently showering you with compliments, praising your every action. Again, idolizing you excessively. This is a form of love bombing, and the intent is to create a sense of admiration, so you be dependent on their friendship. You see a lot sometimes with you have friends, and even if you have close friends, it is okay to have other friends. But when that person who's doing the manipulating, seeing you moving away from the friendship, seeing you connecting to other friends, that's a threat for them. So in order to manipulate you into not seeking other friends, what they do is they love bomb you. They tell you how special you are. Like you're the only friend for them. They've been looking for a friend forever for you. You're the best friend ever. You're their bestie. They're buying you things. When they go shopping, they're buying you stuff. All of this, worshiping you in order to manipulate you to remain friends with them and only them. Sound familiar? Is there any friends in your life that this sounds like? And you have difficulty moving away from them. They just kind. Oh man, they go to great lengths to just pour it on. Sounds familiar? Think about somebody in your friendship circle. Has anybody made you feel that way? Made you feel like, you know, they're the only friend you're supposed to have? Does that sound familiar? Think about it. This may be a good time to begin to examine your circle and evaluate whether they're healthy or not. You know, we have this YouTube video about healthy friendships, and developing trauma-informed healthy relationships. But it also talks about, and there's a worksheet attached to that, how do I examine and evaluate my circle of friends and determine whether they're healthy for you or not? Or they're with you for the right and healthy reasons. We talk about like what is a healthy friend? What are the characteristics? And does my circle of friends match that? And if not, how do I look for those friends who are healthy for me? So go check out that video and click the link and get that workbook, because it's really going to help you with this. So now let's talk about some strategies. What can we do when we in this situations, right? I'm going to talk about 3 different boundaries, and this is all I have to talk about right now because there's so many. That's why she's taking life back is just filled with great coaches, filled with coaching programs that are coming up. Just stay tuned, because we're going to continue to talk about coping skills, because we talk about what's the issue, but I want to make sure that you have some information to be able to help you on how to handle this, right? So the first thing, the most important thing is to establish boundaries. Identify your personal boundaries and communicate them clearly to your potential partner or to your current partner. Begin to practice assertive communication. That's when the healthy friendship comes in, or your support system. You can begin to practice, what do I need? What do I say? How do I set boundaries? Now, remember, if you're someone who has experienced trauma in your past and you haven't learned what boundaries were because of the way that you were raised, and so you're at this age and you don't even know what your boundaries are, it's not too late to learn what they are. Again, in our workbook about friendships, it talks about how to establish your own boundaries. What is boundaries? What does that look like? And also is equipped with statements in that talk show, in the workbook, teaches you how to come up with statements to say that's going to help you set boundaries with your friends. It's going to give you statements. And again, with your support system, you can begin to practice, because it's not easy. I shared on another live with a well-meaning friend who I love to death, used to be my best friend, and she since passed away. But there was a time in my life when got to a crossroads in our friendship. And I wanted to change my life because I didn't like the way I was living. And I knew there was more to me. It was more to my life than what I was seeing in front of me. So there was different changes I needed to make in my life. And she wasn't ready to make those changes. And I tell you, even today, I loved her dearly, but we weren't going to the same place. So I had to learn to how do I set boundaries? How do I tell her that, I have to move on? How do I say that to her? What words do I say? How do you do that? Because in my emotions inside is like, oh my God, she's gonna hate me. She's gonna say all these negative things, which actually did not happen. But I got to a point, this was years ago, that I actually practiced. What do I say? What happens if I don't get the response that I want? I practice this with healthy women that I began to connect with who were supporting me through this time. And thank God at that time, she said she understood. She understood that, there's a fork in the road and I was moving on to do other things. And I really loved and appreciated her for that. But that's not always the case. So it is so important to set those boundaries, learn what your boundaries are first, and practice how to set them. Right? The other thing, seek support, like I just mentioned. Reach out to a trusted friend. Now, we want to be careful when we say trusted friend. We have friends in our life that we trust. What I'm talking about is friends who understand the trauma-informed world, that has a little bit of understanding about certain things. We don't want friends to say, just go ahead and tell them. Go tell them. Not understanding, like going ahead and tell someone these are my boundaries, creates anxiety for some women who experience trauma. It's easily said than done. So if you have some of those friends who understand your traumas from the past and how it caused you anxiety in certain situations, that it may not cause anxiety with other people that may not experience their trauma or healed from their trauma, that they understand that. So if you're looking for support, you're welcome to join the Learning Lounge. Click the link in the description. I put a link in there for the Learning Lounge. Come into the group and, try to develop, relationships a little bit at a time. But in the beginning, I always tell people that never just talk about boundaries, never just jump into relationships and divulging everything about yourself. So even if you come into the Learning Lounge, just share a little bit about yourself. I can tell you, there are women inside of our private Facebook group, because that's where it's on, who are in the Learning Lounge who don't comment. Some of them I meet on the inbox privately, but they don't comment. They want to hear the information that's being shared. They read the information that is being shared, but they're not at the point or don't want to get to the point that they're sharing things in the group. And that is totally okay. So if that's your case, you're welcome to still join. You can still gain support by seeing with other women or with I post in a group about how to handle situations. I just recently started this Monday through Friday kind of daily inspiration that's equipped with tools. So come in the group, request to join. We have 3 questions you have to answer. And if you're accepted in the group, take, benefit from what we're sharing in the group, because they're going to help. It's going to help you. Right. So the other thing I want you to know that, along with joining the group, along with understanding that there are other women in that group who experience similar situations, the other thing is seek professional help. As a trauma mindset coach, I'm here to help women to break free from that trauma mindset so they can learn how to navigate in healthy relationships, so they can learn how to aspire to um, healthy living, excuse me, help you live that dream place, that goal that you always carried around for your life without procrastinating, without self-sabotage. So as a professional trauma mindset coach are here to help you with that. Along with being a coach, I have a 32 plus year history as being a professional counselor, and who specialize in addiction, who specialize in trauma recovery, to specialize in those areas. So that, in combination of all that I learned as a trauma mindset coach, I'm here to help in any way that I can. So stay tuned, because we're going to be coming up with new ways. My team and I are putting together things to help you more and more, to help you become that support that you may not have, or to add on to the support you already have. right? So lastly, I want you to begin to focus on your self-love to build self-worth. One of the things that is going to help you break free and begin to learn the signs of a love bomber and have you be able to like step away and say, this is enough, I'm breaking up with this, is be building up your own self-worth. Cultivate self-awareness, cultivate your self-esteem by practicing self-reflection. I do it all the time. I heard this like it was last week, and this is so true because I believe that, the mistakes that many people make when they get into relationships and they recognize it's time to leave, they don't leave space between the next relationship. That space is designed for you to do self-reflection. It's that time to determine like what went on in that relationship. What are the behaviors that I didn't like in that relationship? What are the things I need to learn to cope better? What are the signs I need to learn so when I see these signs showing up, I know it's time to leave? How do I do that? That is what you need to do in between relationships. A lot of the mistake that women who experience trauma get, and men, but I speak to women, mistake is they jump from one relationship to the next. And I get it because in my younger years, I used to do the same thing. And what happens when people do that is they jump into one relationship after another because they don't want to pause and stop, because stopping between relationship puts the focus on you, and then you start thinking about all the trauma that you experienced in your past, and you start having all these negative thoughts about the past relationship. You have these negative thoughts about yourself. Why did I get in that relationship? I did it again, and all this negativity. People don't want to feel that. I get it. It's a painful place to be. So they jump back into another relationship again to mask that period of time. But I want you to understand that if you're somebody that wants to break the cycle of being involved in a love bomber with a love bomber, or if you're in a relationship with someone who loves bomb and you want to break free, take the time to self-reflect. Take the time for yourself. Even if it feels uncomfortable during that period of time of self-reflection, I can tell you that is the way through it. And as a trauma mindset coach, I'm here to show you how to navigate that uncomfortability. Because let me tell you, again, because of my own personal experience, I know what that feels like to sit with me in the past. It felt real uncomfortable. So I did whatever I could to avoid being at that place until I've connected with healthy people, healthy professionals that help me navigate that place in between relationships. And I can tell you today, excuse me 1 minute. Oh, I'm losing my voice. Just got so much to share with you. I can tell you like here in my life, and it began a couple of years ago, that I developed, I created this life that I was going to live out my purpose. And it didn't matter how old I was. I was going to live from that place and healing some of my trauma, most of my trauma at this point in my life. Because my last involvement with trauma and a therapist was seeking an EMDR therapist. And I took a break, and I'll go back if I need to. But during that experience, um, I learned how to be with me. I learned how to delve more and more and more and break through sabotage and procrastination to move closer and closer to what's next for me. And as a result of doing that, I found myself beginning like years ago, like not feeling that pressed to be in a relationship. Like I didn't feel that need. I didn't feel the need to like jump into a relationship to mask and avoid and distract myself from me, because I learned to love me. I learned to be with me. I learned how exciting that was. I learned how to be good to me. I remember, like, I haven't done it in a long time, but I learned how to date me by taking myself to the movies. When was the last time I did that? Maybe a year ago, something like that. But I learned how to be comfortable with putting myself in a movie theater with me, not having a date. I learned to do those things that I used to do with partners by myself. And yeah, it was awkward in the beginning, but I began to feel comfortable. I had to get past that. Like, I'm in this movie by myself and everybody's gonna be staring at me and like, why I'm here by myself. It doesn't bother me because I learned to love me. I learned to love on me. I learned to make me the priority in my life. And I can wait until that man that I'm shows up in my life, or when I'm ready to invite someone in my life. Definitely want someone in my life at this period of time. Again, I'm not pressed. I don't have this need. It's just saying that, I want a man because I want to be with him, not because I need to be with him. Years ago, there was a need for a man to be in my life so much that I invited the love bomber in my life and I allowed him to stay. And I took all the gifts that he was giving me because it was filling my void that I've now learned to fill with me and the love of my God. Girl, how can I lose? How can I lose? How can I lose? It's about filling up those voids that were created in our lives with loving us, allowing ourselves to have a sense of spirituality and a connection to our God. Though that's the only thing that could fill up that void. And if you don't fill up that void and you start seeking a relationship, you're gonna fall victim for that love bomber. You're gonna fall victim, right? Oh, this is something. This is something. Again, just prioritize your self-care. Take advantage of some practices that you can do. Take advantage of things like meditation. Take advantage of things like mindfulness. Learn how to relax. Learn how to breathe deeply. These sound like minute things, but if you get into practice and you do these things, you'd be surprised how much begin to put the attention on you because you learn to go inside. I always tell people, when you talk about like doing some trauma recovery or substance use recovery or whatever you're recovering from, it is an inside job and not an outside job. So no man, no amount of affection, no amount of gifts, none of that is going to fill up that void. And you're always going to fall victim because you're going to need more of it, more of it, more of it, because he's going to take it away and he's going to set you up to need more of it and more of it. And you're going to be on this cycle of feeling loved, then feeling unloved, then feeling loved, then feeling unloved, because he's going to shower you with gifts, shower you with praise, and then he's going to take it away. Are you tired of that cycle? Are you tired of that? Do you want to learn how to get into a healthy relationship? It starts by educating yourself and starting today by learning the signs and replaying this live so you can take notes so you understand what are some of the signs of a love bomber. How do they operate? Getting the workbook so you can do the real work, so you can delve into what this really means, how to assess your life. Now, I promised to share with you, and I haven't forgotten, I want to share with you when the healthy me met two love bombers in my life. So there was this one man. I had just moved to my apartment and I went to Home Goods. Home Goods is one of my favorite stores for decorating, right? So I'm in the store, I'm in the aisle, and I'm looking at, these things. And at the corner of my eye, how you can see somebody coming, but you're not looking at them. You see them from your peripheral, right? So I could see him coming, right? This tall man. So he walks to me and he says, hey, and I'm paraphrasing because this was a couple of years ago and I don't remember, but it went like this. So he said, how you doing? I said, I'm fine. He said, so what are you doing at Home Goods? And I said, I just moved and want to decorate my place. I'm like, what are you doing here? He was saying that he had, he was, because he was in the military. He was in the, I want to say Air Force, but I know he had a high rank. I forgot what it was. So he said that he's now lives in the, not too much close to the area, but in North Atlanta where I was living at. He said he lived there and he was decorating. I said, oh, you decorate yourself? He said, yes, he loves decorating, yada, 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 right? So in my mind, I'm looking at him and I'm like, okay, tall, look good, seem to be, at a good place in his life. So he said, can you have my number? So I said, yes, right? I hadn't dated in a while. I said, yes. I'm like, okay, I wanted to give this a little shot because he shared more information than that piqued my interest. So he gave my phone number. He had called me the next day or two. I can't remember how long. And then he said, would you like to go out on a date with him? So I said, yes. Right? I said, but I'm meeting you so-and-so. You ain't gonna find out where I'm living at, right? I'll meet you so-and-so and so-and-so. So we met at so and so and so and so, right? Went on a date. It was nice. It was fine. It was great. And a nice time, nice conversation. He began to tell me all these things. He was telling me about, to impress me, telling me he owned a car dealership. And I could see, he said that one of the cars that he had, it was a nice car. Jaguar was nice, one of my favorite cars. And at this point in my life, I'm already thinking like, nice, but you ain't impressing me. You need to come with more than that. Okay. You need to come with more than that. But it was nice. It was nice. And he was telling me that, what did he say? He had been in the military, I think 20 plus years, something like that. And he was on his way to retire from the military, and he had not found out where he wanted to live. But I think I could get it. I could probably have it wrong, but he was stationed there at this time, right? So again, we went on a date. Like, so I went home. He had called me to make it home safely, wonderful, yada yada. Everything was cool, right? And I'm like, okay, we'll see. My tennis is still up. Let me see. So he had called, I think it was the next day or the day after, called my phone, and I had my cell phone in my room, right? Now, I don't know where I was. I was in the kitchen somewhere. So I just let the phone ring. And then I came back to my room, saw my phone, saw that he called. So I said, oh, you know what I mean? I'll return this call in a minute. I needed to finish up what I was doing. So I called him back. Ladies, this is what his response. What the hell took you so long? I'm laughing because I'm like, I said to myself, I said, excuse me, what did you say? He said, oh, I was just joking. I said, let me tell you something. I don't know who you think you are, but this is where it ends right now. It was nice meeting you, and I hung up. Now I've grown a lot because the old me would have said some more choice words, but I'm like, that's it. That's it. Let me go back in between this. He definitely was saying things like, you seem to be, someone I want to date. We sharing a little bit, and then he also tried to kiss me. I said, honey, I don't kiss on first date. We don't do that. And in my mind, I was like, okay, I don't want to like say this is over because of one little thing he did wrong, but my tennis was up. So other things began to happen. Tennis went up. But that phone call, I don't care how good looking you are. I don't care how many years you spend in the military. I do not care that you own a car dealership. This is where I get off this ride. Because if you doing this early on in the relationship, you know what I mean? Because he went from, we didn't even get to the point where he showered me with gifts. It was just like one day, one conversation, that was it. But he was just saying all these nice things and, just saying things that I'm like, okay, this is something about me. I don't know. We'll see. But when he did that, that was like a huge sign for me. And I'm somebody who experienced trauma and have been in domestic violence relationship. And that right there did not sit right with me. He wasn't getting another chance. I've learned enough about myself. I learned to build up my self-worth that does not get a pass. So that was one of them. Here's another one as we begin to close. So where did I meet this brother? I forgot where I met him. I met him through, I think through my job somehow. I forgot where I met him. And I could tell, all I could say is eye candy. But still, at this point in my life, I'm that looks good, but you got to bring more to the table than that. But he looked good, very intelligent. That's one of the things that attracts me about a man, because I am a sapiosexual. I'm attracted to intelligent men, very intelligent. So at this point, he had asked me out, and I said, sure. So, we were talking on the phone, right? And then he was sharing a little bit about him, and I shared a little bit about me, not too much. So he called me again the next day. And I'm like, Mom, I just talked to him yesterday. We just talked yesterday. Then all of a sudden, the love bombing comes. Hey, baby. And you don't baby me, and we just started talking like a day or two ago. No, we ain't doing baby, right? And I said it to him. I said, you can call me Natalie. then it was just pouring it on and pouring it on and pouring it on and pouring, and it started to feel really, really uncomfortable. But this is a stage I said, now be real careful because you have a way like cutting people off, like, and that's because that's probably a trauma response. And I was learning how to not cut people off. So I said, let me get it one more try. Like, okay, I talk to you next time. Call the next day. This time I didn't answer. Then I got a call like later on. He said, hey baby, I try to call you, I want to talk to you. And here come the love bombing. And I had a conversation with him. I said, I don't think this is gonna work out. I said, right now in my life, I'm so focused on my business that I'm not interested anymore because it's not fair to you. And then I said, on top of that, you was just pouring it on too early, too soon. And that was very uncomfortable for me. You know, at that point, he was kind of speechless because I don't think, and I'm just guessing, I don't know if you have ever heard that from somebody, but he was speechless. And I said, it was very nice talking with you. And I hope you have a good life. And I hung up. And I'm sharing these two incidents because, you know, there's not a chance that you're not going to run into a love bomber, right? But, there's times that when you're with them, you have to look for those signs. And the signs in both of them, one of them, first of all, that estate was very abusive. That right there just, and he thought because of his background and because his financial status that I was going to overlook that. Not at this point in my life, because I've done a lot of healing. The other one, it was this love bombing. Too early, too soon, calling me baby, all these other things that I'm not going to say on the air, but just too much too soon. And I was like, in my mind, I don't care how fine you are, I don't care how intelligent you are. We're not doing that because that's a setup. And I'm off this ride. All right. So I gave you some instances early on in my relationship years and years ago when I fell for the love bomber. And I shared with you two instances where I was able to say, cutting it off, cutting it off. I can tell you years and years ago, I probably would have fell for those two. I probably would have fell for them, but not anymore. And you don't have to either. So again, stick with me. If you like what you're hearing on this channel, subscribe, hit the notification bell, hit like, and share the live. Again, maybe this will help someone in your life. If not you, someone else. Help us push this out into YouTube land. And tell somebody about the Learning Lounge. And if you yourself are interested in connecting to like-minded women, click the link below where it says the Learning Lounge and put in a request to join our group. And don't forget to purchase the workbook. It's really going to help you. A lot of exercises, a lot of actionable strategies, and it's only for $9.99. I think it's about 14 pages. All right. And I will see you next week on part 3 of our Love Bombing monthly series. I hope you're learning some things now. And again, if you haven't seen the first one, go back and look at our last week's talk show. And I will see you next week. Don't forget to take your life back.